Shenanigans.
All right. So the way it works, our hosts bring you hot topics they want to share. We'll ask, is it truth, lies, or shenanigans? And our panel will talk about it for a bit until time is up. And then we'll go to our audience for questions and comments. So make sure you're commenting in any of those threads. I see some comments going on right now. By the way, Jose says he's got a great smile. Daxon said he should have left it. And yep, I totally agree with all of you. I think he should have left it. Apparently his family thought he should have left it. All right.
Temporary, though.
It's not like a hockey player who's got hockey teeth. This is a football player who's played with a mouth and face guard. He's got a beautiful smile.
He does.
Keep it.
Yeah, he does have a nice smile, though.
Yeah, now hockey players, they
so. Yeah, I mean, a hockey player's smile is a hockey player's smile. It looks like a piano keyboard. You got a little bit of white and black spaces.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. It's going to be hard to change gears. So we need to get into a difficult subject to talk about. We're talking Derek Chauvin. I'm going to start out with Derek Chauvin. One of the hottest topics of the week, the trial of Derek Chauvin, Derek Floyd's murderer. Monday, opening statements and the first prosecution witnesses were on the stand. They opened with a video of the murder of Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck for the infamous 9 minutes. But then prosecutors brought in what I would say was a surprise to me because I hadn't heard about her. But there was a dispatcher named Jenna Scurry who happened to be viewing the situation on surveillance cameras. And she shared how she was concerned that something was not right as she was watching them.
They had changed. They had come from the back of the squad to the ground, and my instincts were telling me that something's wrong. Something is not right. I don't know what, but something wasn't right. I took that instinct and I called the sergeant. If this was a form of use of force, I was calling to let them know.
So she ended up calling the sergeant to report it, and here's the clip of that call to the sergeant.
And then, I didn't know, you can call me a snitch if you want to, but we have the cameras up for 320's call. Oh, did they already put him in the, they must have already started moving him. And 320 over at Cup Foods.
Okay.
I don't know if they had used force or not. They got something out of the back of the squad, and all of them sat on this man.
Sat on this man's back. I don't want to be a snitch. Lizzie, are you here with us?
Am I? Can you hear me?
You are here with us. We're so happy to have you back. I'll reintroduce you later in the show.
This damn technology, man, it is not doing me any justice right now. So what's the question on the table?
No question. I was just making sure you were still with us. But yeah, we just had Jenna Scurry talk about how she was watching remotely as Chauvin and his partners were standing on the guy's back for quite a while. Now, day 2.
Oh, wait.
Go ahead, Jen.
Was this when they say that she saw them virtually, was this not the case that everybody saw, like the bystanders, like the actual incident?
She was literally watching them from a surveillance camera across the street. She could literally see.
Oh,
she could literally see them.
Someone from dispatch who could see simultaneously what was happening while she's on the phones, and yeah.
She literally watched them take him out of the car. They put him in, then she saw them take him out, and then kneel on him. And she even said that she was watching the video and she thought the video was stuck or something because they weren't moving for so long.
Wow.
Sitting on his neck.
She thought the screen had frozen. Just
yeah.
like mine.
So she called the sergeant. Yeah.
Well, no. She called the sergeant because she thought that there was something amiss. She thought that there might have been some type of
abuse of power.
Yeah. All right. Then day 2. Day 2 focused on the bystanders watching the film of the incident. This video is from one of the officers, Tao Thao. I'm not sure I'm not saying his name right. His body cam as Chauvin is killing him.
You can't even look at me like a man because you a bum, bro. He's not even resisting arrest right now, bro. He's stopping his breathing right now, bro. You think that's cool? Really a firefighter?
Yes, I am from Minneapolis.
Okay, bro, you get on the sidewalk. You think that's okay? Check his pulse.
And then, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so one of the interesting things, so that particular firefighter, I don't know if you have video of
I
her,
do.
um, but so I'll wait until you show the video of her because I'll talk about her interaction, her back and forth with the defense attorney.
Yep. All right, so we have now. I did want to point out the boxer Donald Williams, who was the most vocal in the video. He testified,
MMA fighter, MMA.
MMA. All right, saying that he ended up calling 911 to actually report a murder.
At some point, did you make a 911 call?
That is correct. I did call the police on the police.
Right. And why did you do that?
Because I believe I witnessed a murder.
I listened to the his call. They actually played it, and yeah, he was like, "Look, he was murdered. This guy was just murdered in front of me." Because I don't know. Then we also had the two young children who took the stand yesterday, including teen Darnella Frazier, and she filmed and posted the first viral video that we all saw, and she was talking about how that video affected her.
It's been nights. I stayed up apologizing and apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more and not physically interacting and not saving his life.
That was tough for me because I am with kids, so listening to her it's tough. It's tough. But it's just two little kids because her young cousin with her as well. I think who was 9 years old at the time. She's I think turning 10. She testified as well. I didn't put that on here though. And then we had firefighter, as Lizzie was talking, firefighter Genevieve Hansen. Now, she multiple times insisted on and requested that the officers check for a pulse or allow her to perform life-saving procedures.
I offered to walk them through it or told them, if he doesn't have a pulse, you need to start compressions, and that wasn't done either. I would have been able to provide medical attention to the best of my abilities, and this human was denied that right.
I just have one more, Lizzie. I'll let you start off, but I just have one more. Then today we had Charles Mclean, one of the first bystanders on the scene. You might have heard him if you watched the original video, saying you can't win to George Floyd just before George Floyd called out to his dead mother, and repeatedly saying, he said he can't breathe. Well, he absolutely broke down the stand today, also testifying that he spoke to Chauvin after Floyd was taken away, saying, quote, "I don't respect what you did." So the trial, of course, brings the raw emotions of that back for a lot of people. I'm going to go ahead and let you talk, Lizzie, but my question to you guys is, what are you feeling? Has this brought up any feelings for you? Has it any resurgence of those feelings that we were feeling when we first saw the video? And second, is there any way that he goes free after this trial? Go ahead, Lizzie.
I actually have not watched any of the trial this week. I've watched the snippets. I've read some articles about what has transpired on the witness stand, on the exchanges between the witnesses and the prosecution, the witnesses and the defense. But I've purposely kept myself at a distance, at bay, because I didn't want to be triggered. I didn't want to experience it again. But like you said, when the 17-year-old witness testified and told, what she saw, why she started filming, and then the PTSD, the trauma that she experienced after that. I read that in an article, and then I teared up in reading that, just because, in addition to what happened to George Floyd, this has been traumatic for everyone,
Yeah.
including the people that were there at the scene, who saw it firsthand and who were trying to make a difference as best they could at the time. As far as the firefighter is concerned, so she had a very testy exchange with the defense attorney,
She did.
who kept trying to get her to admit that people in the crowd were heckling The police officers were heckling Derek Chauvin, were screaming at them, cursing at them or whatever. And she wasn't buying it. She was just like, I'm a firefighter. I go in, I save people. It's my job to keep my eye on the prize, regardless of any outside distractions. Now, imagine if she was like, imagine if I stopped fighting a fire because someone was yelling at me. Imagine if I stopped treating someone who was in distress if someone was yelling at me. But the one thing that I took note of, and I probably would have asked him, and thank goodness I haven't had to be a witness for anything on the stand. The defense kept saying, but all of these bystanders were yelling at the police officer, calling them names, screaming at them. And my thing, okay, if he could hear all of this, if he could be distracted by all of this ambient noise, this outside influence, he had to have heard what they were saying to him, which he did because he described, the curse words, the inflammatory language they were using. But he also had to hear when they were saying, check his pulse. He's not breathing. He went limp.
It's
I think
unresponsive.
we killed him. He's unresponsive. He had to hear all of that. In 9 minutes, he had to hear all of that. And not once did he stop to check to see if George Floyd was okay. She even responded, I think she, along with another witness, responded that he looked like he was out of his body, like he looked like he wasn't there, almost, talking about Derek Chauvin. There was nothing behind his eyes. And so for the defense, you can't have it both ways, that he was scared and intimidated and didn't know what to do because all these people were screaming at him. The people weren't, threatening to hurt him, to harm him. They were begging for him to tend to check on George Floyd, and he failed to do that. Your question, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll say one of the paramedics, I think, testified, or maybe not the paramedics. I don't remember who gave this testimony, but someone was saying that even when they got there, they had to ask them. The paramedics got there. They had to ask him to get off him, and he didn't.
Yes.
Initially, Chauvin still did not. They had to actually literally move Chauvin off of him. So I mean, it's like he was. If you look at the video, and I know a lot of people have, but he had to have been unresponsive, probably dead for probably at least 3 minutes of that time frame.
I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure he was cuffed at this time, right?
He was cuffed from the beginning, from the entire 9 minutes.
He was cuffed, he was down, he was basically in custody. What if Derek Chauvin takes the stand, which, I mean, it's his right to, it's everyone's right to, testify on their own behalf. I don't know if he will, but if he takes the stand, I mean, the question has to be, in 9 minutes, why didn't you get up? Why didn't you allow him to take a breath?
I mean, I hope the prosecution gets a chance at him.
What were you hoping to accomplish in 9? Like, even if you were in a wrestling match, a boxing match, or whatever, standing 8 count, like after the 8 count, you're done. It's over. No mas.
Yep, 9 minutes, 29 seconds.
9 minutes, 29 seconds. Come on now. It does
Another part of the defense was another part of the defense was that Derek Chauvin said that he was doing what he was trained to do. So I don't know where they're going to use that defense. I have no idea how.
Yeah, I remember reading that, because that's absolutely ridiculous. Tamika Turner Graydon says, "I don't have the mental strength to watch the case," and I get that. I get that. I mean, it's. I have to admit, I'm listening to some of these people talk, and when we talk about the resurgent feelings, I mean, it surges right back up. I haven't rewatched the video, but I just remember what I was looking at and the feelings that I had that day. I wanted to just throw my computer at the wall. I was so angry.
But also think about the idea that most people say when things like this happen, when there's a confrontation between civilians and police that turns violent. And the first thing that a lot of people say is, well, you should have complied. Well, how was he not complying in the 9 minutes and 29 seconds that he was on the ground with the knee on his neck?
I mean,
When he was no longer responsive, how was he not being compliant
when he was
then?
dead, how can you come? He was literally dead. Let's be honest. The guy was dead. He had no pulse. He was dead. And
So how are you not compliant?
how are you not in compliance?
They
How,
keep using every excuse in the book, and then they say it could be that he was on drugs ahead of time, which caused him to. That's why he couldn't breathe for that amount of time, or something like that, because he had drugs in his system.
Ephraim Haile Selassie says
So
America is on trial.
Drugs in your system. Well, one, and even though the medical examiner, declared it a homicide doesn't necessarily mean murder. Homicide means that, he died of unnatural causes. He died of some other type of trauma. However,
yeah,
not once did the medical examiner say he died because he was on drugs.
Yeah.
He died of a drug
Yeah.
overdose.
Yeah.
That's not what
Right.
caused his death.
No.
No.
Real quick, and I want to get Robbie in here, but real quick, I want to say Sherry Blaine Priest. I have been watching the George Floyd murder trial daily. Witness testimony, the police cam video tell a really clear story. Robbie, what are your thoughts?
It's I'm with my fellow co-host that the footage from the trial, even the snippets, it brings you back to ground zero very, very quickly emotionally. It's absolutely heartbreaking to hear the witness testimony, to hear that heartbreak in their voices, and that's it. Like now, the prolonged psychological issues that these people have because they were denied the ability, the freedom to interact to save a person's life, and that's it. Like I love the recap that you did, Liz, where if people are yelling, am I going to stop delivering care to someone? Well, and most firefighters are trained paramedics. I don't know how it is in the U.S., but in Canada, that's absolutely the norm. When you see a big red truck by, it's like, all right, so these are firefighters, and these are absolutely healthcare responders. So she had the ability to intervene, and she was trying to intervene as a citizen and as a professional. She was trying to perform her duty and denied that. And I think that that's just how everyone on scene felt, just completely unable to do anything to change what's transpiring in front of you. It's really deplorable, and I really, really hope that Chauvin gets what's coming to him. I hope that, because they've come after him on numerous charges, and I hope that something will stick so that this boy goes away. He murdered someone in broad daylight with plenty of witnesses.
I mean, this is one of those cases that's so cut and dry that, I mean, if he doesn't get prosecuted for something, then I can't see anything but America going off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so my bestie, we had Carlotta Walls on like maybe a month ago, maybe almost a month and a half ago. And her daughter right now is in Minneapolis with her family, with her husband and her in-laws or whatever. So I asked her yesterday, I'm like, what's the pulse of the citizens of Minneapolis right now? Are people watching this? Are people on edge? And she said, absolutely. Everyone is nervous. Everyone is afraid because they know what's going to happen if he's not convicted of anything.
Oh.
And so that's why I appreciate that there are at least 3 charges. The jury has the choice to convict on 2nd degree, 3rd degree, and manslaughter, among some of the other charges. So that gives them a little bit of wiggle room. But she said, absolutely, the citizens of Minnesota on both sides, on the people who think that Chauvin was in the wrong, but also the people who are on the side of the police officers. Everyone is nervous right now because we all know if he gets off, this might be the one. This just might be the one that destroys a good portion of our country.
No
So
question.
yes, everyone is nervous. Everyone is kind of like, waiting with bated breath, sitting on the edge of their seat, hoping and praying that justice is served
I mean,
in
what
this
would that
situation.
say if he is acquitted? What does that say?
That there is no justice for a black man in this country. Let's call a spade a spade. That there's no justice there is a target on your back. There's no justice at all, at
He's
all.
he's got to
I
be.
And
feel
we
like
will
I
have
it's
to
just
like
can't even
every
imagine it.
we will have to assume that if he does get off, the next acquittal is going to be Kyle Rittenhouse, the young
Mhm.
teenager who killed two people and injured a third when he took his assault rifle and opened fire during a protest in a city that he had no business being there, with a weapon that he had no business having to begin with. So it'll be the trickle down effect. It'll be the trickle down effect. So yeah, I I haven't been watching because I want a sense of peace a little bit before, peace of mind, if you will, before the verdict comes in. But I've been thinking about it for sure,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, I'll admit I haven't been watching like every minute of it. I'm so busy during the day anyway, but um,
Mhm.
I don't know, just the clips are enough. I mean, I read about it, I look through it, I listen to, I've rewatched several of the full testimonies, and man, it's just even being in those people's shoes for just a moment and watching this
Yeah.
live is so tough, so tough. I mean,
I
I just
feel
can't
bad when
imagine
they
being a
said that they
9-year-old
couldn't.
watching that. I mean,
Yeah.
just the PTSD behind that.
What were you saying, Gianni?
I said I feel bad that they said, or one of the bystanders mentioned that she couldn't do anything because she felt like the highest power was there already, meaning the police officers. So I felt like when Neo asked us, what would this mean if Derek, I don't know how to say his last name, but
Chauvin.
Derek, the murderer,
Chauvin.
Sure.
Chauvin, yeah. Whenever, if he does get off, what this would mean, I think this would mean that not only will we like most people will not respect police officers, but I think that it would be we would probably try to find an alternative. Like there, I don't know, maybe it would be something as I don't know, but I definitely feel like it would be World War IV in some respects, and I do think that it would be like
That's accurate.
people not wanting police around, or like maybe they'll feel like, well, we can be our own police. We can delegate what
Something's
needs
gonna
to
happen.
be
Mhm.
Something's gonna
something.
happen when
Yeah.
he gets off.
I'm with Neo. I would say that it's the powder keg of the last 4 years, and this as the catalyst. If he were to be acquitted, that would just be that you're lighting the fuse and letting it go off. It's
If
Oh yeah,
if he is
oh
acquitted,
yeah.
I
Rob, you better open the border. I am coming up there. I
fuck
am not
that.
Me
staying.
too.
Are you kidding?
I'm
I
not
We're
can't
gonna
stay
get the
here.
staying.
beavers. We're gonna get the beavers to help us reinforce and build a wall. Like just
Reinforced.
we want to keep the cooties out now if the country's tearing itself. But I mean, when we first started talking about this, when it initially happened, this is something that we were talking about. That this is something that could absolutely tear apart the fabric of America. That's it's a huge. It's a very divisive event, and yeah, like an acquittal would completely invalidate the police services, at least in that state. I know that, like Johnny was saying, it wouldn't be a matter of rising up and creating your own police force because, well, there are people in power who would oppose that and tell you that these are militia groups, that these are vigilante groups, and that's not
Right,
going to they're not going to stand for it. So that's
right.
where it becomes this powder keg. Boom.
All right.
So
Need these
I really
comments
hope the
online.
prosecution has their act together and they don't slip up.
All right.
One last
Yeah.
point. One last point, very quickly, because Gianni touched on this a little bit, how the bystanders and everyone there were at a crossroads because they couldn't help him. They wanted to, they couldn't help him. And you have a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks who are, I would have done this, I would have
Mm-hmm.
done that. And I don't mean to say
Yeah.
this to offend, but I'm glad they did not, because we would be talking about more deaths besides George Floyd. Those police
I was
officers
thinking
were
that too,
they
for
would have
sure.
opened fire with the quickness, without hesitation. You saw how amped up the Asian officer was. He was
Yeah.
ready.
Yep.
He was ready. And so I appreciate that there was proper restraint used, even though George Floyd died in the end. But we didn't need 3 or 4 more people, especially since there were children there. We didn't need more people to die on this day as well.
Yeah. So I think that this is Sherry Blaine Priest. I think that is the part that crushes everyone. People wanted to help and were denied. Yeah, and I agree with
They
that because
couldn't.
when I'm listening to um, the MMA fighter, what was his name again? I don't know why it's leaving my head. But when I'm listening to the MMA fighter, I'm like, yes, that's what I mean. What he was saying was what I was feeling. Like, good, he was like word for word what I was thinking. So it's infuriating. This is Jacqueline Robinson. It's infuriating that Black folks have to have video evidence and a sympathetic victim to receive a modicum of justice. Ernest Cooper says, if Chauvin is acquitted, then why would anyone be surprised? Disappointed? Yes. Surprised? Not really. Vicky.
I don't think it's surprise. I don't think it's surprise. It's outrage.
I would be outraged.
It's outrage. It's not surprise. It's outrage.
Vicky Smith says,
Yeah.
I believe it was premeditated. He's in the black man killing business, Chauvin. I have some thoughts
Also,
about that too.
there are some people who
I
think
can
that too,
believe that.
because they worked at the same establishment they knew each other.
They knew each other.
They knew each other. So
At least
yeah,
in passing, but they probably knew each other directly.
Yeah, so there are some people who believe that as well. So that's not a far-fetched idea.
Yeah, no question. Yeah. Mike Wolf says, even if other police officers wanted to stop him, if they had, their careers would have been over.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Any final thoughts? All right.
I don't anticipate really, I don't even think I'm going to watch the verdict. We've been through a lot. So already, it's only, tomorrow's April 1st. I'm still tearing up over the insurrection.
Yeah.
And I don't have the capacity to take on all of this.
It's a lot.
So I probably will not watch. Like, I'll keep abreast of what's happening via the media, reading, getting commentary from people online, but I'm not watching any of this. I just can't, y'all.
Yeah.
I can't.
I feel you. All right, let's get to the next hot topic.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.